I invest in myself, and the most amount of risk I take is with myself. I feel more like I can do it. And then it's not like a ego thing. It's just more like, I've got this spirit within me. I've got God around me and in my life that I can take on anything I want. There's no limit to me. I'm free of limitations. Welcome to the Miracle Academy podcast. I'm your host, Scotty Cooper. Today on this episode, what I wanted to do was do this exercise that I've done with my team, normally on a yearly basis or in the middle of the year, or you can do this also at like a quarterly basis. It's kind of up to you when you want to use it. For me and my experience, I normally use it at the end of the year, but I do enjoy using it halfway through the year as well. But for those that haven't done it, this is just a good thing for you just to kind of refresh, and this is a good way to take a snapshot of where are you at. This exercise is 2 parts. It's called completing and remembering, and then you're also creating clarity for the next period of time. So we're going to dive right in. This is going to be a little bit different than other episodes we've done before. This one, I expect you to be pausing a lot. I'm going to be saying something, you're going to pause. I'm going to say something, you're going to pause. So don't laugh if I make weird faces when you pause, but that's probably going to happen. But we'll also put in the bio like a link that will have these questions in it too, so you can print it out before. So this would be an excellent time to pause, so that you can print out this worksheet. So we'll dive right in. So the first part of completing and remembering is kind of looking back at this period of time. So the first question is, what was your biggest triumph in this time? So when I did this for last year, I said my biggest triumph was being able to grow our practice to the size it did and to purchase a house. That's been something the 2 things that I've really been focusing a lot in my professional life. My other triumph was being able to connect with more people and to get on a whole nother level of being able to provide value to others. Those were kind of the really big triumphs for me. Next question is, what was the smartest decision you made in that period of time? For me, I make a lot of smart decisions, but I think there was a couple things that I did that made a lot of sense that I was really grateful for. Next question is, what is one word that best sums up and describes your experience for that period of time? When I did this last year, my response was growth. During COVID, a lot of people just kind of didn't grow. And for me, I really put in the time, energy, money into growing myself and learning new things. And I wanted to come out of all that craziness being on a whole nother level. And I feel like I did. Next was, what was the greatest lesson you learned in that period of time? I always try to learn something every day, and that's one of my strengths is being a learner. So I really enjoy learning, and that was I had a lot of responses for that one when I answered that. What was the most loving service you performed in that period of time? So for those of you that don't know, we have our nonprofit organization called the Coop Foundation. So it stands for Care of Other People. It's nice because it's my last name, Cooper, and there's 3 main parts of that organization. The first part is we sponsor needy families in our area every Christmas, where we go to the local school districts, we ask for the poorer schools, and then we ask for a certain amount of families at each school. I then have volunteers that will interview each of those families, and we then spend about $100 per child, and we get everything that kid wants for Christmas. We also get them clothes and things that they need. And then every year too, what I like to do is find out like kind of the stories with some of these families, and then I like to kind of the last minute, my dad and I really like to find like extra special stuff. So like one year there was a guy that he lived with his family, and he really wanted to go to culinary school, and he was just limited by a lot of things in his life. He was living with his family and how to take care of his siblings and his father wasn't around, so it's kind of hard for him. And what he ended up doing was he said he needed a computer so he could apply to school. So I had one of our practice members purchase the computer, and I had my tech guy put all these programs on it so he could further his mission. It was pretty awesome. But nonetheless, that was part of our foundation, and that's our big Christmas event. The other parts that our foundation does is we sponsor healthcare for people that can't afford it. So people that want to donate, they can donate for these other people that can't afford care, and that's always pretty amazing. And when I get to deliver that news to those people, it's incredible. And the third thing we do is it sponsors different type of health talks and screenings for people that normally wouldn't be able to do that. So to answer the question, what was the most loving service? Was a lot of the volunteer work I did with that, and a lot of the things I was able to coordinate with that effort. Next question is, what is the biggest piece of unfinished business in that period of time? Next one is, who are 3 people outside of your family that had the greatest impact on your life in that period of time? On that question, normally, I know it says outside your family, but I almost always answer someone in my family. And whenever I do this with other people, they're like, you didn't follow the directions. And I'm like, sorry, I know what it says, but this is who had the biggest impact on me. It always drives whoever I review this with, it always drives them crazy. Next one was, what's the biggest risk you took in that period of time? Next is, what was the biggest surprise in that period of time? What was the biggest failure? What was the biggest learning experience? And what will you vow to never do again? That one really always sticks with me because it's amazing, because there was things I've answered on this from 4 years ago that I remembered a situation that I was like, oh wow, I was so right on with that. I vowed to never do that again, and I haven't. For that one, it was taking people around me for granted, people that connections that I should have put more effort into, and after doing this exercise, it brought me a lot of clarity with that, and to really nurture the connections around me. I think that's a big part of who I am today. What important relationships improved the most in this period of time? This next one is one I really like. What compliment would you have liked to have received in that period of time? And that one's kind of cool because it makes me think differently. It's almost like, okay, well, if I got this compliment, and that meant I would have done this thing, and that's really what I wanted to do. And so on my next sheet of paper, I need to write that down. I need to write down that thing that I want to accomplish. Next one is, what compliment would you like to have given in that period of time? The next part is, in the last question, what else do you need to do or say to be complete with this period of time? I liked that because it kind of closes the door on, whether it's the year or half the year or the quarter or whatever it is that you're doing this exercise for. It's nice to be able to, okay, we're done, now we're moving to the next step. It's a nice kind of dividing part. So once again, feel free to be pausing this a lot. And if I make a funny face like that, you can always comment with it or something funny like that. But all right, the next part is creating clarity for the next period of time. So what would you like your biggest triumph to be in the future? For that one, it's nice because that helps me plan out a lot of either my year or my quarter or half a year, because when I do this, it helps give me clarity, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. Then I've got to reverse engineer it to, what do I have to do on a daily basis? So, if here's my big goal, then I can create objectives on a shorter amount of time. For, let's say it's a yearly goal. That means every month I have to hit this, which every week I have to hit this, every day I have to hit this. And that was very helpful for me. So for people that are more business-minded or talking about a business, if you want to reach $1 million in revenue for the year, going backwards would be, you need to hit $83,333, I think it is. And there might be some cents, I don't remember. That is what you have to hit a month. And then technically there's 4.3 weeks in a month. And so if you divide that number by the 4.3, you know what you have to hit for a week. And then you could even go by day if you really wanted to. But that kind of idea is what I use in this when I know that this is what I want my biggest triumph to be. I can reverse it down. And a lot of times my triumphs aren't just things business related. It's all kinds of things, like whether it be like my own body composition, or I want to have more friendships with certain people, or I want to, for me, last year it was making a house or purchasing a house and redoing it. But all things like that. Next question is, what advice would you give yourself to prepare for the next period of time? What is the major effort you are planning to improve about your personal financial results? Next question is more for people that have their own business or people that care about their business. What is the major effort you're planning to improve about your business's financial results in this next year or next amount of time? Next one is, what would you be most happy about completing in this next period of time? This is the one I really like and sticks out to me a lot, is what major indulgence are you willing to experience in this next period of time? And that's one that I'm trying to think of the ones I've answered in the past. I really like cooking, and I wanted to just get into more of the tools of cooking, and I started a cooking knives collection, and it's gotten kind of crazy at this point. I've got 3 chef's knives. I've got this really long slicing knife for tri-tip. I've got a bread knife. I've got a paring knife. I've got a utility knife, and I even have a meat cleaver. And they're all these Japanese knives, and they're really cool. And it was funny when I first got them. Dr. Moses, if you want to watch his episode over here, he's a funny guy. But I feel like I'm always talking about him in some of our episodes. Nonetheless, he and I, when I got the knives, we're on this cutting board, and we wanted to see who could cut an apple slice thinner. And you already know who won. But we were cutting them, and we're just extreme concentration, and we're making them paper thin, and it was so funny. And my wife's like, "What are you guys doing? Just stop!" I'm like, "I have to win. First of all, I need to show off these knives how cool they are, but second of all, I have to win." So one of my indulgences was buying a lot of knives, and these are also pretty high-end things that we were getting, but once you cut with them, you're like, okay, I can't use other knives anymore. It's kind of a problem. But I really, really enjoy them, and I like showing them off too. So, but I'll show you we'll put up the picture of Dr. Moses and I with our extreme concentration. It's pretty funny. All right, next one is, what would you most like to change about yourself personally in this next period of time? I found that for myself, normally when I answer this question, it's not necessarily changing myself as much as it's leveling up. How can I level up? What parts of me do I want to level up? So the next one is, what are you most looking forward to learning in the next period of time? Last year I wanted to learn about having more confidence in speaking on camera, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that. And I use less filler words. I like to think I do, but when I first started my first episode, if you watch the one with Coach Rick, I probably said "so" 52 times. I think they had a tally behind the camera. So. And we have a practice member that she's lovely and really nice, and she brought it to my attention. She likes to give me feedback. She's like, "You said so a lot, and you also said awesome a lot." And I was like, "Well, great. Not going to say awesome." So it was definitely a thing that I had to learn how to not use filler words and how to acknowledge people in a different way, which was often so if you look and see me make that face, that's, what that is. Next one is, what do you think your biggest personal risk will be in the next period of time? For me, I feel like my parents raised me in a way that I take it kind of to sports. When the game's on the line, you've got to be the guy with the ball, the guy or gal with the ball. And I've always took that to heart. Like, okay, well, I want to be on the field on the last play. Like, I want to be a part of it. So I always go all in on myself, if that makes sense. I invest in myself, and the most amount of risk I take is with myself. I feel more like I can do it. And then it's not like a ego thing. It's just more like, I've got this spirit within me. I've got God around me and in my life that I can take on anything I want. There's no limit to me. I'm free of limitations. So I like that one because I feel like I identify with it. It's like I can really go after whatever I want. Next one is regarding your work. What are you most committed to changing and improving in the next period of time? Next one is, what is one as yet underdeveloped talent that you're willing to explore in the next year or next period of time? For that one, aside from now being very good at cutting things with my kitchen knives, some of my talents that were previously undeveloped were really connecting with people on a deep level, like someone I don't know. And I always knew that was a strength, but I really put a lot of time into learning how to do that and how to make people feel comfortable. And now I do it all the time. And so I always like filling out this part because I like to think what's next? What's my next thing I can do to really level up again? Next one is, what brings you the most joy? And how are you going to do or have more of that joy in the next period of time? This was cool because whenever I talk to people that feel like they don't know their purpose, this is one of the questions I ask them is, what brings you the most joy and how are you going to find more of it? And it's cool because it always leads people to what their purpose is, and it eventually leads to it after a series of why questions to get to the deepest root and sense of what it is. But I previously did this with my sister. You can watch the video with her. It's a very entertaining video. But she and I were talking about that and what is it that brings her joy? And she realized that a lot of her present career really wasn't doing that. And so we had to be able to find what it is that brings her joy and gets her closer to her purpose and to why she's truly here. Next one is, who or what, other than yourself or your family, are you most committed to loving and serving in the next period of time? I find that this one really opens up my mind to the outside, things around me. What am I committed to loving and serving? And I feel like not enough people ask that question, right? So many people, they're so stuck in their day-to-day, they don't even think of how can I love and serve another person? And I think when you can ask yourself that question and you truly answer it, it leads you to what you should really be doing, right? Instead of just watching Netflix or something, it's okay, well, if I know I need to be out loving and serving, how's my life going to be different? What am I going to do? And then the last one is, what word or words, a short phrase, would you like to have as your theme for the next period of time? I really like the idea of setting themes for years or half a years or whatever. For me, I like to do it on a yearly basis, have a theme. And I know that okay, this year is this. So for instance, 2020 for me was thrive, not survive. And that's what I did. I like to always do that, have a theme, it's a focus. Kind of goes along with that first question on this sheet, which is what do you want your biggest triumph to be? And then you make sure that your theme aligns with that so that everything's moving in one direction, right? So that helps me every year do this with clarity. A couple of people have asked me how often should you do this? So for me, I do it on a yearly basis. And I like to review my answers. I probably review my answers once a month. So what do I mean by that? It means I fill the sheet out and I read my answers once a month. Sometimes I kind of have to update it. There might be some things that all right, well, I've already achieved that. Or, you know what, this kind of shifted a little bit. So I can cross that one out and kind of shift it a little bit. But most of the time it's me more reading it. I've heard of some people that have taken this sheet and then they'll laminate it and put it in their shower so they read it every day. That's really helpful. I find too when you write these things out, there's some people that like to write things out a lot and they like to do it continuously. For me, I'm not that guy. I like to more write it out maybe a couple of times But I'm more the one that likes to think about it and really ponder it and really like read it over and over. That's more of my style. Or reading it out loud, I find, is really powerful. The thing is that if you're reading out loud what you want your biggest triumph to be, it kind of helps your mind, helps your body, helps everything feel that this is what we're moving toward. And I like that a lot. So I've done that. So to answer that question, I would say fill it out once a year. If you want to do it more, go for it. But you should be reading it regularly. Have it in a place that's accessible. And I've heard of some people that'll frame it or put it on their desk, that this is like where this stays so that they can always have it in like their shot and they can always be reminded of it, and kind of gives you the GPS of where you're going and where you've been. If you really enjoyed this kind of exercise, I've got a lot of things like this training that I regularly do with my team. If you really like it, please comment and tell me how much you enjoyed it and how like you say like, okay, like I really also want to see pictures of your knife collection because that sounds super cool. But any other comments you have. But yeah, if you really like this, then please comment. Let us know that this is something that you really enjoyed. And also like and subscribe to make sure that you're getting all the videos that we're putting out. But thank you so much for watching this episode of the Miracle Academy. Once again, I'm your host, Scotty Cooper, and this is where miracles are expected. Thanks.